For starters, my husband has parental issues. He was abandoned by his biological parents and put into foster care as a toddler. He never had a stable home as he was bounced around different families until he turned 14, then spent 4 years in a group home. When we met, my family took to him very fast. He and my mother, 54, specifically developed a close relationship. For Mother's Day last year, he gave my mom a card and wrote a message thanking her for treating him like a son. He said she was the mom he had always dreamt about having. It was sweet. I never minded him treating her as if she was his mother. However, my mom is very extra. She wants to be involved in our lives a bit too much, which my husband only supports. She loves coming over to cook for us or inviting us to her house for dinner. When our child was born, her wanting to be around intensely increased. I appreciated her help, but being at our house almost 24/7 got on my nerves as I felt she was invading our privacy. I established boundaries with her and told her she could only come over when invited. I didn't invite her over for a few weeks, which upset her. I also declined the numerous invites to her house. She was involved in a serious accident that shattered her leg between Thanksgiving and Christmas. She needed constant care while she recovered, which none of my sisters could provide due to their jobs. After our daughter was born, I became a stay-at-home mom and was expected to care for my mother. I declined and received much scrutiny from both my family and husband. Finally, she had no other choice but to be transferred to a rehabilitative facility. Everything was fine until reports circulated about the facility 2 weeks ago, which resulted in 2 caregivers and the director being arrested. My husband freaked out and said we needed to get her out of there. However, the incident that occurred didn't involve my mother's side. It was the memory care unit. My mom had been treated just fine. My husband got my sisters involved, who of course supported him. I was very adamant that she shouldn't come to our house. The next thing I knew, our guest bedroom and bath had been cleaned up. I again told my husband I was not going to allow this. Lo and behold, he arrives home with my mother. I was absolutely angry. He said it would be fine as my sisters made a schedule to come over and care for her between their work schedules. So great, now I have my sisters invading my privacy too. I told my husband he married me, not me and my mom. I told him to stop bending over backward for her and trying to please her. I expressed how I felt and that he was trying to compete with me, and my mom right now is gloating about that. All he could say was, "This is your mother and you have obviously shown her you don't care." My sisters are livid with me and have said I'm a crappy daughter and could learn how to treat a parent from my husband. My boundaries have been completely violated. Not the idiot, what is wrong with your husband? It's one thing for him to talk to her and send her cards, but moving her into your house against your express wishes is bananas. What is wrong with these people? You are absolutely right to feel like your boundaries have been completely violated. Hubby needs some therapy to talk about his trauma. I totally understand that it makes his inner child happy that he finally found a mom, but this kind of compensation for the lack he experienced is only helpful and healthy to a certain degree, and at this point, he damages you and your relationship for the sake of being a good son to your mother. He is absolutely the idiot for bringing your mother into your house without your permission. Your sisters are also idiots for judging your daughterhood while they can hide behind their jobs and other excuses why mom isn't at their house. But you're telling him apparently isn't going to do you a whole lot of good. All I can suggest is that you focus on caring for your child and absolutely do no more than 25% of the care for your mother, with sisters and hubby doing the rest. Can you please explain why OP has to do no more than 25% of the caring when in fact she should be doing 0% of the caring? She doesn't want her mother there. She told her husband not to bring her there. He went against her wishes and did just that. OP, sit him down and tell him you will not have your privacy invaded, and if she's not out in 7 days, you'll be taking the baby and going to a friend's house. I, 34 female, have 3 kids. A young male, a male preschooler, and a female toddler. We live in a 3-bed, 2.5-bath condo, and we have my sons in one room and my daughter in another. We also have a loft area with 2.5 walls. One side has a wall maybe 3.5 or 4 feet tall, and the other side is open. I have a half-sister, tween, that needed a place to stay. She was in an emergency foster home and either my husband and I had to take her in or she had to go to a foster home. We've never met her. I didn't even know she existed, but I didn't want her to end up in foster care, so we took her in. My husband wanted her to share a room with our daughter, but I thought living with strangers was hard enough for her and she'll need her own space. We ended up moving our daughter into our son's room, but that didn't work out well. Our daughter can't sleep without a sound machine and night light, and the boys can't sleep with them. They also have different bedtimes. Putting the boys to bed always woke her up. My husband wanted to put her back in her old room, but I didn't think that would be a good situation for either of the girls. I ended up moving her bed into the loft, and her clothes changing table are in my room. The half wall is too high for her to climb, her toys were already there, and we can put a divider or curtain there if it becomes a long-term thing. My husband came home and saw this and was furious that I moved our daughter into the loft instead of letting her share a room with my half-sister. That was around 3 weeks ago. My daughter is fine in the loft. I painted it for her, got some princess wall decals, and organised the toys to leave more room for her bed and everything else I brought from her room. To say my sister isn't adjusting well is an understatement. She's tried to run away twice and she had a breakdown and destroyed everything in her room last week. My husband has mentioned calling the social worker and sending her to a foster home since she got here. However, the past few days have been better. I haven't had to pick her up early from school this week, she's leaving her room for meals, and she's starting to talk to me. My husband still thinks this isn't working out. He refuses to let our daughter stay in the loft and says my sister shouldn't be around the kids. I told her if he sends her to a foster home after she's just starting to feel comfortable here, the kids and I are leaving. We've been arguing again because he wants to send her to a home, and he actually said part of the reason is that he wants to get our daughter back into her room. He got his family calling me a bad mom for prioritising some random girl over my kids. Am I the idiot for putting my daughter in the loft to make room for my sister and not sending her to a foster home? You are the idiot. This affects your whole family, and it sounds like you made the decision lightly and without talking to your husband about it. Her presence and behaviour will affect your kids. She's essentially a stranger to everyone, and you have small children. That makes me super uncomfortable. She sounds like she needs way more emotional and behavioural support than typical. Here is a very short list of situations where you can threaten to take your kids and not be the idiot. This isn't one. You are making unilateral decisions that affect him and your children, and you don't get to do that. His concerns are valid. If she is destroying her belongings, trying to run away and having breakdowns, she needs intensive therapy, and I would worry about the safety of a toddler around her. Why isn't the half-sister in the loft room? It would be safer for a pre-tween than a literal toddler. Generally, CPS requires foster kids to have a room with a door lock they, the child, could control. But a toddler should never be in a loft unsupervised. Since her toys were already there, it sounds like she may have had unsupervised loft time before this incident too. So instead, the toddler should be in the parents' room while they search for a new place to live. OP, your intentions are sweet, but your priorities should lie with your husband and your kids. My 29 wife, 27 and I recently had our son. My wife was diagnosed with postpartum depression about 2 months ago, and it's been hard trying to manage for both of us. I started working fewer hours so I could be with both of them more often, and that's been helping. Since our son was born, we haven't been away from him once. We've not had a break, not even having his grandparents watch him while we get a night. My wife will not allow it. She doesn't want to be away from him at all. So much she doesn't even want to use the bathroom with him out of her eyesight. Honestly, I've been dying for a break. Going to work and then being on daddy duty without even one night to ourselves has been exhausting. My youngest sister got engaged about a year ago, and her wedding is in 2 months. We're already planning on attending, but since the birth, my wife has been against this. She doesn't want us to go as it's a destination wedding, and we likely have to leave for at least 5 days without our son. My feeling is that we need to go. This is my family, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime event. I know it would deeply hurt my sister if we didn't attend. It would also be good for both of us to get a short break. It may even do some work for her mental health. So last weekend, I made it a priority for us to have a full conversation about this. I told her my feelings and suggested that we give our son to her parents for a short while so we could go. She was livid. She said I was prioritising my wants over her obligations as a father, and I couldn't just drop our son anytime I wanted to do something fun. She said that I could go, but she would be too busy being a parent to come with, and that if I go, I better find a different place to stay when I come back. This made me feel guilty, but I'm really not sure if it should. I don't think I'd be a bad dad for wanting to see my sibling's wedding, nor do I think it's fair for her to threaten me like this. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, But given your wife's attitude, you need counselling now, as in right now, ASAP. If she continues to be like this, she'll wreck the marriage in no time. As to the wedding, I would personally make it my hill to die on. If your wife will not see reason and will not seek the help she needs, you will need your family for support. If she makes this a bigger problem, separate and get legal custody. Your son will need a healthy parent in his life. You are the idiot. 5 days is a long time for a new mother to be away from her child. My wife would never agree to this, although she wouldn't have yelled at me about it. There are so many fears with the first child, and to go from constantly together to nearly a week apart is probably too much for her. Leaving her on her own for 5 days is rough. Yeah, I think the problem is that the wife can't even go to the bathroom without her child. Jumping to 5 days of distance is just not feasible. I hope she's working in therapy about this, though. Not being able to separate for 30 seconds from the baby is not only bad for her, but it will massively screw up the kid. My wife, 41, and I, 43 male, have been married for 15 years and have 3 kids, 20, 18 and a teen. We have some money saved up for all 3 of our kids to continue their educations. This money is not put in specific education accounts. Still, we've always told our kids that this money is for continuing their education in whatever form they want. We're encouraging college since neither my wife nor I have college degrees and wish we could have gone that route. But we've also told our kids if they want to pursue a different educational option, we'll help them with that too. Our oldest is currently finishing up a program at a community college and has an internship which will turn into a job offer immediately after she graduates. However, she still lives at home and we don't ask for any financial contribution for her as she plans to move out when she gets a job. Our 18-year-old is in her senior year of high school, and although she's applied to and been accepted to 3 colleges, she recently told us that she doesn't want to go that route. She told us she wanted to start her own business doing photography. She asked if she could use the money we saved for her education as a jump start to get her business started. We explained to her that the money we saved has always been for education, not anything else. I told her that we would support her in whatever she wanted to do after high school, but that didn't mean we would financially support her. I told her that starting a business is hard, and that many people who know more than she does about business fail. I suggested she go the route of her older sister and find a community college that offers photography and business classes if she doesn't want to attend a 4-year school. She said she doesn't want to go that route because she'd rather get her business started immediately, and that the money we save for her would be a huge head start for her to use for marketing and equipment. I told her she was free to make any choices she wanted. If she goes that route, then we will not financially support her. If she wants to continue living at home, then we might have to discuss her contributing financially to the household as an adult. I told her this would likely be a token amount to help with housing, food and utilities. She now thinks I'm a huge idiot and that I'm playing favourites with her older sibling because she's pursuing a path that I approve of. She said I'm punishing her for wanting to go her own route in life rather than adhering to one that we'd already laid out for her. I explained that she knows that money has always been for education, not as a lump sum to be used however she wants. I told her that we would support whatever decision she wants to pursue, but that doesn't mean we have to financially support it. My wife is on the same page as me, but thinks we should give her a portion of the money to start her business. Not the idiot. Starting your own business at 18 with no real training or even business classes is a recipe for disaster. Just giving her that money now, straight out of high school, would be a colossal mistake because this money was intended to set her out on a great start in life, and this won't do that. Photography business? Do you mean the thing anybody can do with their iPhones these days? Your daughter that wants to start a photography business doesn't even know what she doesn't know yet, and even a certificate in entrepreneurship or small business would be useful. It's not all unicorns and rainbows. I think your offer for photography and business courses is amazing. It's a flooded industry and she needs to learn how to stand out. She wants to be an adult and start a business instantly without learning the ins and outs of running a business. She may be about to find out how tough it really is. It's your money and you decide how it's spent. My 26 female little brother 21 lives in another state for school, but he came back home for a week to visit everyone. He was staying with our mom, our childhood home. About an hour ago, I got a call from my mom instructing me to tell my brother to come home because she needed him to put together the TV stand for her. even though he told her he would do it tomorrow. My brother went on a date with a nice girl that he started dating before he left for school. He came over to my house earlier to borrow my car for the date because he didn't have one, so my mom assumed he was back at my house. I informed my mom that my brother was still out and asked if he was supposed to set it up tomorrow, to which she replied, "Yeah, but I changed my mind and want it up now. So your brother needs to come home now. What is he even doing on a date for 3 hours? Having intimacy? He better not be having it with that girl." I was sort of taken aback by her statements, but not really, because my mom has always had this weird control thing over my brother's girlfriend, and so I replied, "What he does at his grown age is absolutely none of your business. And frankly, it's weird that you care so much about his intimate life. You're his mom, not his girlfriend." She said something along the lines of, "Yeah, I'm his mom, so I should come first." I just laughed and called her delusional. About 30 minutes later, my brother called me asking to stay with me and my fiancée for the remainder of his stay because my mom called him crying, saying how he must not love her and blah blah blah. I, of course, told him he was welcome to stay. However, I got a call from my older sister basically scolding and cursing me out and calling me the idiot for saying that stuff to my mom and making her cry. Am I the idiot here? Not the idiot. Your mother's idea that she should always come first is pretty freaking toxic. At some point, children grow up and have their own lives. She needs to accept that, but geez, I'm glad someone called her on her crap. She lacks very clear boundaries. Your brother is lucky to have you stand up for him. OP, your mom sounds like someone in need of support from a professional, both with boundaries and with the transition her kids are going through. I know everyone likes to pile on shouting, "Go no contact," and while boundaries are clearly essential to make with her, I'd stay in enough contact to encourage her towards self-insight and developing skills she needs to deal with an empty nest. Yeah, this is how you make 50-year-old single guys that can't find someone willing to take second place because mommy comes first. OP, your mom has an unhealthy fixation with your brother and needs to cut the umbilical cord. Additionally, your sister is an idiot here because your mother is effectively crying because she was told she isn't the center of your brother's universe. The motivation to cry matters more than the crying itself. She isn't a victim.